you're welcome to yet another episode of the Blue Table Talk Show, the migration program that helps Nigerians to make informed migration decisions. And today with me in the studio are two amazing gentlemen who are going to be doing justice to the topic of, is the grass truly greener on the other side for irregular migrants and migration? I have with me Victor Lutenko of the IOM, who is the Senior Programs Coordinator and Head of IOM in Lagos. Thank you for coming on the program with us.
Thank you for inviting me.
And I also have with me as well Stephen Kolade Adeniyi. Stephen Adeniyi, who is coach and behavioral expert 361 degrees. But before we go on and we dissect the topic today of, is the grass greener on the other side for irregular migrants and migration, we shall be joining Miko Banti on the streets of Lagos as we ask Nigerians that question. What do they think? Is the grass truly greener on the other side for irregular migrants? And my name is Enito Otedri Biroke.
What they are facing over there is not a thing to write home about.
We are Nigerians, first of all. It's our country. If we all go, we will stay and defend. We're supposed to be patriotic. We're supposed to stay in your country. Okay. If I have a very enabling environment where my business is thriving, of course, I wouldn't go anywhere. Niger for life.
And to some, they may be like trying to, the urge for better living conditions. So some, it could be academic prowess, in a way of advancing the academic and all that. So to me, it boils down to the individual. Yes.
Okay, so we have seen Miko Banti and we've heard the voices of Nigerians on the streets of Lagos and what their thoughts are about irregular migration and the grass being greener or not greener. And I'm going to ask Victor what his thoughts are on this very interesting question. You see, Nigerians often migrate irregularly with high expectations of getting a good job and living a more comfortable life abroad. They just feel that the streets are paved with gold, everything is green. But from your experience in the migration sector, is this always the reality if they eventually migrate?
Well, if we want to generalize, and we have to generalize, is the grass greener? Yes, it's greener. Okay. Because migrants are very conscientious and rational actors. Overall, if you look at migrants will tend to be the best part of the society because they're more active. They are taking the risk. They're the ones who, in order to support their family or support themselves or to reach their aspirations, they're taking some actions that are, let's say, a little bit outside of the normal.
Yes.
So that's why you would see that migrants usually in the countries of destination, they're the ones who are succeeding the most. They're the ones who are always finding work, who will be the ones that will lead a lot of companies and businesses. So migration, if you want, is a little bit of a self-selection of the best, right? Mm-hmm. So saying that these guys just don't know what they're doing is leading us in the wrong direction.
Very true.
So my answer to your question would be the grass is green and probably greener and probably even more greener than they think about. But the problem is not about the grass. The problem is with the sand in the desert that a lot of these people are taking in order to get to those fields. And is the sand in the desert hot? I think that's
that's a good question to ask.
That's the most important question, and my answer is it's hotter than you think. So a couple of days ago, a boat capsized on the way from Yemen to Djibouti. My colleagues working in Djibouti just informed about that. So more than 30 women, children, men just drowned. A little bit before that, so last 2 weeks, we had 2 boats capsized. These are the people who were on their way to Saudi Arabia to find, a better life, jobs. Are there jobs in Saudi Arabia? There are jobs. So the problem is not about jobs there. The problem is, do we have good, safe, secure, open, regular pathways to get there,
to
right?
those places.
So, and what do we know about these pathways? how well have we considered the risks? I think that's the central question when we talk about the irregular migration. So I think we have to give the appreciation to these people for their resilience, for them wanting to support their families and to go there and to do whatever it takes in order to support back their families.
Yeah. Thank you, Victor. I like the fact that unusually you've been able to spotlight the resilience and the characteristics of irregular migrants. However, one of the questions that comes up every time, even in counseling with a lot of these people, is that if we migrate irregularly, can we get better job opportunities? Are these things available? You understand? So, when you think about it, for irregular migrants, would you say that there are better job opportunities available for them abroad? Although the grass is greener, as you have rightly said, but as irregular migrants, considering their skills or their educational certificates, are they able to really get better job opportunities?
Well, that's a little bit of a different question. Or there are two questions here. Are there jobs available in the countries of destination? There are, and there will be more jobs available. Migration is always going to where the vacancies are. It's not going to where the economy or the job market is saturated.
True.
So the same with the migrants, and there is an entire volumes of scientific literature that will show very little to no effect over the job or access to the labor market of the locals. So migrants are not stealing jobs. They're focusing on the sectors in which there are jobs and there is a need in labor force. That's first. Secondly, one of the biggest issues that is affecting Nigeria, and it probably will continue to affect, is the so-called brain drain, right? So the immigration of those qualified, of those who studied here, of those who have different type of skills. And I'm not talking just about doctors, right?
Oh, yeah.
So, or engineers, or those who are kind of very easy to understand what the brain drain is. I'm talking about nurses. I'm talking about people in technical professions. Those who have maybe 1, 2 very narrow skills, but which is highly appreciated out there.
Sure.
Now, brain drain is a problem, but there is a bigger problem than brain drain.
What that is?
Brain waste. It's when you are a doctor here and you're going abroad, and because nothing is available for you to work as a doctor because of your diploma, or because you haven't been prepared, or because some other things, and you have to be an Uber driver, that's wasting your brain, which is even worse. Because
that means that your competence and your skill that you should nurture, you should grow, you should buffer, does not have the room to become better. And I think it's a great place to jump on, because I like how you started. You captured it rather well, but it's also important also to buffer. When you spoke about the grass truly being greener on the other side, I think the best thing that would capture it when we talk about people and behavior is to understand the concept that's been used in the past year, that the world has become a global place, which of course we know is a mix of the word global and local, which means that everyone is a citizen of the world. Anybody that carries a passport that has the means can move from point A to point B. And I felt to jump on what you said, speaking about the concept of the brain waste, because I'm in a space that is learning and development, psychology, behavior, and I will tell you that in recent times we've lost some of the people who are supposed to be like the tier 1 of the best in my industry, because everybody believes that I need to go abroad to be better or to do what I do. And even though I don't share the popular opinion, but this is where I differ from most of them. And one of the big questions I've asked over the years is this: if hypothetically the books you read, the certificate you picked up, were done by an American or done by someone in the UK, hypothetically, and then you pick up and say, oh no, I have the certification here in Nigeria, I've practiced, I've made money, I've made a name. Also, the next frontier for me is to go back to the UK and the US.
Are you dreaming of a brighter future? Are you planning to japa? We know the world is calling. We know you want to leave Nigeria at all costs. But before you go, have you heard of the Migrant Project? We provide free counseling services on the risks of irregular migration to help you understand the challenges of life in European countries if you plan to japa wrongly, either by road or sea. Guess what? We also provide support, referrals, and access to some local alternatives for jobs, skills training, and mental health support. Our counselors are here to empower you to have more agency in your migration decision making. Call these hotlines to speak with our counselors. This is a 100% free, individualized, and anonymous service. Edo State 0816 529 8860. Lagos State 0813 777 0863. 0814 783 5852. You can also follow us on Facebook at The Migrant Project and The Migrant Project Lagos. Choose the path of hope. Don't risk your life. Stay home and thrive. This message is brought to you by The Migrant Project Nigeria.
Can you just tell me and tell all of us listening? So for instance, so I'm a young Nigerian. I'm just maybe 18 or I'm fresh out of university. And I've thought to myself, look, you know what, I want to get into for a long time, a lot of people do trainings, coaching, everything, and I just want to be able to say, okay, you know what, how will I get into this space? In order to, first I want to use, because one of the things that we're seeing is that career pathways are changing.
Oh yeah, they are.
So first, how do I get into this space that you're in? And secondly, getting into this space you're in, will it give me greener grass opportunities out of the country?
Oh yes, definitely. Recently, I've had more parents who have been in my session say, "Oh, I like what you do.
Okay.
I have my daughter who's interested. I have my son who's interested. What can they do?" I said, if they want to intern, please let them come.
Okay, so internships are one
Internship is the easiest way. That's number one. And then it's not the internship in Nigeria where you go to buy food or we send you to buy rice.
Okay.
No, it's the internship where part of the daily strategy meetings that I have with the team, you are involved.
Okay.
We have an engagement with the clients, want to do anything, you openly sit down together and I throw questions. And that's how I practice.
Okay.
And a few other persons I know in my space do the same thing. They give you opportunities to test yourself. Because an 18-year-old, I don't know how your growing up was, but I know that between the ages of 11 and 15, I had different career paths. 11, I wanted to become a policeman. 12, I wanted to become a lawyer. 13, I wanted to become all sorts of things. And even at 18, while I was going into university, I still wasn't sure where I wanted to do. So it's an age where you are oscillating between a choice. You don't know exactly whether you want to be here or whether you want to be there. But it's at that stage, that's how your mind processes. But when you get into that space and you engage, which is another thing I tell parents who have children, university, secondary school, you now begin to ask fundamental questions, either as a parent or either as somebody who's in charge of that ward, to say, oh, so what is, you begin to know whether the child really wants to learn. When they do, you let them go. And if they don't, then you are kind enough to say, okay, I don't think this is your area of interest. Do you think we should try something else? For people in my space who want to learn, when they come and they learn two things, you can intern. Number two, you can consistently read. Number three, the YouTube is the biggest unpaid university in the world. I like that because for data.
Fantastic. I would like to come to Victor now and ask you, because as we're coming to a very rapid end of such an interesting episode, but time isn't really on our side as usual. And we hope that we can have a part 2 of this because we're unpacking so many things. I would like to ask you, Victor, particularly for IOM, or generally for the migration space, actually. And then, what additional efforts do you think can be made to promote and increase access to safe and legal alternatives to irregular migration of young Nigerians, as well as promote safe and legal options of migration? Because it's both sides now.
Okay, let me maybe start from the fact that I think we should put the person at the center of the policies and not the country.
Beautiful.
Because if you put the person at the center of the policies, then you'll discover that Nigeria changed a lot in the last 50 to 30 years. How big is Nigeria?
How big? Oh, well, that's a good one. How big is Nigeria?
You will say about 1 million square kilometers, about 220,000 people, right? Well, like that traditionally. And I will tell you, no. Nigeria became a much, much more bigger country. And you know why?
Why?
Because I think Nigeria is where its citizens are.
Hmm.
And Nigeria is everywhere.
True.
Because Nigerians are everywhere.
True, Nigerians are in
Does-
every country in the world.
Does the government have to take care of Nigerians even when they are at the end of the world? Yes. And cater to their needs and work with them. If there is a Nigerian who went abroad, developed skills, did everything, what do I do as a government? Do I ask him to come back home? No, not necessarily.
Well, we've been
what-
hearing that from our government, asking people to come back home.
Yeah.
But what I think is the most important, for many Nigerians who are abroad, from abroad, they can do for the country much more than if they would return back.
True. I agree.
We have to recognize individual pathways for every person. And if we design a policy, we have designed it with so many options, ideally as people there are, right? So we have to give the possibilities. And that's how we approach migration. If we are led by this idea, this is how we have to approach migration. If there are people who have aspirations and capabilities here that they cannot develop now, let them go. The best you can do, help them go. Help them do it safely,
How?
nicely,
Okay.
negotiate regular pathways with the countries, support them in that country. Because the only thing that we can do is make sure that they start their job and they restart their life there as soon as possible. Because if they restart it soon, if they restart it at a level that is similar to what they have here, they will be able to grow more, they will be able to send back more money, and they will stay in touch with you. And then you have much more chances for them to come back at a certain moment than if you just abandon them.
Yeah.
Right? So that's the first thing. Which brings me to the idea that migration is a very important life plan. It's a plan. You have to invest time. You have to invest planning. You cannot trust, just people just because they came up. You have to verify and double verify information. You have to have a plan B. You have to have a budget put aside. You have to have a plan for your family. It's the more attention you pay to your plan, the more migration will pay back in terms of results for you, for the country you are living, for the country you are going.
For your dependents and even everyone, I agree.
So if there is something that I would recommend or what we could do more is to make sure that we invest more in telling people not to migrate or not to migrate. People, and Nigerians especially, are smart, resilient, good enough to make the decision by themselves. We have to invest in their capacities to analyze this and to make this based on facts and information and not on feelings and emotions.
Very true. Very, very true. I mean, very interesting. And I like the fact that you mentioned about planning and life planning, because that's one thing that I am so fastidious about. So let's say, Coach K, as you round off here, what is the one advice, especially going on life planning, that you would give to our youths that want to migrate for economic reasons, any means possible?
By any means possible, I would say it already is a limiting belief, because when you say by any means possible, you are saying that this is how far I can go. But when you take off the limits, then there are a billion and one other options for you to take, and then your options for migration, how to do it, becomes larger, becomes bigger, becomes easier, because the opportunities that you would see will be deeper. There will be a lot more than what you naturally think you would expect, because you are saying, oh, it is a do or die affair. A do or die affair actually places a limit on you. So once you take away the do or die, and like Victor said, and you actually ask the big question, what are my options?
Very true.
Then the vista of opportunities now begin to open to you.
Today's program has been, for me personally, quite mind-blowing, because both gentlemen have taken angles and directions that are so unusual. And for anyone who is listening, you have listened and you've heard it. Victor has said it. Coach K has said it. Planning, open up your vista, think of opportunities. The desperation to go out by any means possible limits you. We're resilient, we're rational, we're analytical as Nigerians. And though the grass really is green on the other side, but then there's good green grass here and many opportunities. So finally, Victor, as we round up, I would like you to tell us, just very succinctly, the challenges that your organization has faced in providing support to potential and return Nigerians?
Money. we would do much more with more money. And in Nigeria is huge.
Yes.
We do a fantastic job going to one market and organizing a peer-to-peer event and convincing people, and people are approaching us and the mothers are coming up like, my daughter, I was going to send her the buses leaving next week, but now I understood it's too dangerous. I'm going to keep her, analyze more. So I see it has impact. But who's going to cover the other 10,000 markets?
That's true.
So scaling up good ideas is probably one of the biggest challenges that I see here, because we don't have a deficit in good ideas. There is no problem in good ideas. Secondly, the government, at least in my experience, is very supportive, and also is understanding. And if I disagree with something and I go there and I put the arguments on the table, we'll always find a compromise. There is no problem with that. The civil society, I think, is mature enough and has the capacity. When I approached the religious organizations, I found a total understanding. I discovered that some of the people who are pastors now, they used to be migrants. They don't just understand what I'm talking about. They've been there. So what's one of the most important powers in terms of behavioral change in this country? Religion.
It's religion, actually.
And we have to go there.
Actually.
And we have to go there. We
Religion.
have to be in prayer house, in churches. If migration is so big, and if religion is so big,
We need to fuse them together. I agree.
Thank you so
in
much.
fact, there's a joke we make, even in my industry, that if you have to sell insurance to people in Nigeria, the biggest problem you have is Jesus and Muhammad, because they would rather pray to them than buy insurance of you.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. Truly, I mean, yes, we have had that part where we understand the influence and the power of religion on Nigerians, and it's interesting that we're beginning to see how that the thinking of how to merge everything. Thank you, gentlemen. It's been a pleasure having both of you on the program today. And this is the Blue Table Talk Show, the one program that helps Nigerians make informed migration decisions. My name once again is Enito Ontejudoke. Thank you for watching the Blue Table Talk Show, and make sure that you keep watching. Thank you.
Share you the dream of a brighter future. I be you the plan to japa. We not say the word they call you. We not say you won't leave Nigeria by all means. But before you go, share you don't hear of the migrant project. We they give free counseling service so that you no go enter wahala if you want japa, and we go also help you understand of the small wahala wait there for all these European countries, whether you plan to japa by road or by sea. Share you know say we they also provide support, or we they refer people to get access to some local jobs, skill training, and mental health support. Our counselors also there to help you know the things where you need to know before you leave this country. Make you call this hotline if you want to talk to any of our counselors. For Edo State, make you call 081 652 98862. And for Lagos State, make you call 081 3777 0863 or 081 478 35852. Make you know say you fit also follow us for Facebook at the Migrant Project or the Migrant Project Lagos. Make you choose the better part of Oppo. No risk your life. Stay home to make am. Now the Migrant Project Nigeria. Now bring on this message.